Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of our Reading and Writing Skills class. My name is Derek Chet L. de Guzman, your teacher for today. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to achieve the following most essential learning competency, which is to compare and contrast patterns of written text across disciplines. For today's episode, we're going to continue our topic on patterns of paragraph development, specifically for comparison and contrast, and cause and effect. Let's start with comparison and contrast. How do we highlight the similarities of things in a paragraph? How do we tackle their differences? We could address this question by utilizing comparison and contrast because it organizes ideas based on how events, places, people, things, and concepts are similar to or different from one another. Comparison and contrast paragraphs are commonly used in many academic disciplines, such as humanities, sciences, and business. A paragraph developed by comparison and contrast should have a unifying idea or purpose. It must also be balanced in such a way that there is an equal amount of information for each subject to avoid bias. There are two ways in which we can use this pattern. First is separately, wherein we describe one item first, followed by the second item. Another way is side by side, wherein we discuss both items based on each point of comparison or contrast. How do we use comparison? To compare persons, things, places, events, situations, or ideas is to show how they are alike. In order to compare things, we need to identify the points of comparison and make a list of similar characteristics. Let's have this car and plane as an example. Well, based on its use, we could say that they are both means of transportation. In terms of physical characteristics, we could think that they both roll on wheels. And lastly, based on its interior, we could comment that they both have air conditioning and seats. So there you have it. We were able to compare two things by identifying the points of comparison and making a list of similar characteristics. The following are the signal words for comparing: also, equally, in the same way, similarly, as, in a similar fashion, like, alike, to compare, both, in comparison, and likewise. Let's have this paragraph as an example. The old formulation of the drug MAC and the new formulation MAC2 have similar effects on the test mice. Within 7 days, both mice lost weight. The mouse treated with MAC, mouse A, lost 2.2 grams, while the mouse given with MAC2, mouse B, lost 2.4 grams. Also, there was no increase in hair growth on both subjects. Lastly, the mice similarly exhibited low energy levels. Mouse A started to become lethargic on day 4, while mouse B became lethargic on day 5. In the paragraph we just read, mouse A and mouse B are being compared with each point of comparison such as weight, hair growth, and energy levels. Likewise, the words both, similar, and also are used to signal comparison. Let's have now contrast. To contrast persons, things, places, events, situations, or ideas is to show how they are different. To do so, we need to make a list of characteristics or qualities of the subjects, and then identify the differences between them. Let's try to contrast or differentiate the same example. In terms of route, a car travels by land while a plane travels by air. In changing directions, a car uses steering wheel while a plane uses tiller. Lastly, based on its interior, a car has few seats while a plane has many seats. The following are the signal words for contrasting: although, despite, instead, otherwise, and yet, even so, however, still, as opposed to, even though, in contrast, unlike, on the other hand, conversely, on the contrary, and whereas. Let's read the sample paragraph. In the venture capital industry, a startup company can either be unicorn or a bust. Unicorns have a valuation over $1 billion, a high market interest, and a novel product. On the other hand, busts fail to reach their minimum funding goal, have a low market interest, and have a mediocre product. In the text, two types of startup companies are contrasted. Their different characteristics are stated in two separate sentences connected by the phrase "on the other hand," which signals a contrast between the two subjects. Let's move on to another pattern of development, which is cause and effect. How do we satisfy the questions why and what in a paragraph? How do we explain the reason for things and its corresponding results? We could answer those questions by using cause and effect pattern of development because it explains why something happens or what results a particular event produces. It analyzes the causes or effects of a certain situation. With cause and effect pattern, the writer can explain how an event or action leads to another. Let's try to differentiate now cause from effect. A cause is simply the reason or why something happens, and the effect is the result or what happens as a consequence. For example, because it is raining outside, then I need to bring my umbrella. Understood now the relationship? These are the signal words for cause. As, for, in view of the fact, owing to the fact, because of the fact, for the reason that, inasmuch as, seeing that, being that, in that, one reason, since, and due to the fact that. The following are the signal words for effect: accordingly, consequently, in sequence, so that, as a sequence, for this reason, so, therefore, as a result of this, hence, so much so that, thus, and because of this. Let's now have the different ways on how to use cause and effect pattern in writing. The first one is cause to effect. The cause, which can be an event or action, can be stated right at the beginning of a paragraph, followed by the sentences stating the effects. This type of organization is best for explaining a single cause with different effects. Let's have this example. Salmonellosis is a type of food poisoning caused by Salmonella enterica bacterium. People who are infected with such illness experience abdominal cramps, fever, and diarrhea. Consequently, they suffer from severe dehydration, vomiting, headaches, and body aches. Furthermore, salmonellosis can lead to complications such as Reiter's syndrome, reactive arthritis, and focal infection. The topic sentence right at the beginning of the paragraph defines salmonellosis, the cause. Then, the rest of the sentences enumerate the effects of the illness. Therefore, the pattern used in this paragraph is cause to effect. Another way is effect to cause. The effect can be stated at the beginning of the text, followed by sentences and paragraphs that expound on the causes. This type of organization is best for presenting a single effect with different causes. Let's read the sample paragraph. Global warming, the increase of Earth's average temperature, is happening. One of its major causes is the buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Those gases trap heat in the atmosphere, which keeps the Earth warm. However, burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas produces more carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, in the atmosphere. Thus, more heat is trapped in the atmosphere, and the Earth gets warmer than usual. Another major cause of global warming is deforestation. When forests are burned, Large amounts of carbon are released into the atmosphere. Likewise, when trees are cut down, much carbon dioxide from living things goes to the atmosphere. The paragraph we just read used effect to cause pattern because the first sentence of the first paragraph states the effect, which is the main idea of the entire text. Then it is followed by the statement of the first cause and its supporting information, while the second cause is explained in the succeeding paragraph. The last one is consecutive cause and effect. In this type of organization, the causes, each with its corresponding effect, are tackled one by one in a few sentences or a paragraph. The writer explains each cause and effect completely before moving on to the next cause and effect. Let's read this example. American women gained status during World War II. Many of them took over men's jobs in factories and farms as men enlisted into the military. As a result, they learned new skills and experienced work outside of home. Also, women were allowed to serve in the military following the bombing of Pearl Harbor. So, they felt the pride of being in the military service. Lastly, because of the absence of men, women made decisions for themselves and their families. The first sentence states the main idea of the paragraph. It is then followed by the second sentence, which explains the cause, and the third sentence, which discusses the effect. The fourth and the fifth sentences, on the other hand, begin with the cause, then followed by the effect. We could also notice the use of signal words such as a result and so to indicate an outcome, and as and because of to signify a cause. Because of the alternating cause and effect, the pattern used is consecutive cause and effect. Let's try to summarize now our discussion starting with comparison and contrast pattern. To compare things is to show their similarities, while to contrast is to highlight their differences. In terms of cause and effect pattern, cause is the reason and effect is the result. There are three ways on how to use cause and effect pattern, namely cause to effect to cause, and consecutive cause and effect. That's all for today. Thank you and God bless.